Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello once again, welcome to the Simulationist podcast. This is iteration 67, recorded on the 15th of December 2013. Hello, Ryan Kirkby.
Hello, Josh Trelevin. I will note, this is a nice thing, as we are just over halfway to Christmas through the month, and just over 2/3 of the way into triple digits for our iterations. So, hooray for fractions.
Hooray for fractions. Yeah, rounding up, I suppose. I mean, yeah.
Well, 67th iteration, that's 2/3 of 100, and we're 2/3 of the way on.
That's really cool. I'm really looking forward to having 100 of these in the bag, or in the internet, whatever.
The net bag.
Imagine a bag of podcasts. What would that look like?
Well, I'm picturing either a lot of those little zip drives, or even maybe a small bag full of those old discarded, iPods and, other iDevices that everyone throws away because they've become obsolete. So, that's my mental image of it. I suppose you could imagine them as like pearls of greatness, but that's a little bit more poetic than my mind automatically goes
it's
to.
It's kind of like magical from the D&D world, I suppose.
Yeah,
so pods, yeah. Pods.
Yes, you throw the magical pod down to the ground and it casts, two people talking. It's not a very big or potent magical item, but it still beats some of those little wondrous things you get for 25 gold that turns into a tree.
Well, there's a spell. What is it? Is it message or whatever? Send a message, 25 words or less.
Yeah, but it's a very limited thing, and it's very limited in how far you can send it to, I think.
Yeah, but it'd be like greater message would be what we're talking.
I've actually looked into a lot of psionic powers and magical spells. Not a heck of a lot that'll do good long-distance communications. The first wizard that invents the telephone spell is going to rule that cosmology.
I like the telephone spell. I like that too. Like maybe the drawback is it changes a word or two or a letter here and there, just at random.
Yes, and that's why no wizard after the first error ever finished off their message with the word regards.
Yes. I imagine, I'm just picturing some, an imp in a room full of switches and, the pulling out the cords and plugging it into different places. And the imp is in charge of, he's in some astral plane somewhere, and he's in charge of.
Or what you could wind up doing is saying that the spell is corruptible by imps. Then you have the imps that go not to the prime material planes, they go to the astral plane and they capture the stuff as it goes in transit and they garble things up just to cause, hilarious and potentially embarrassing changes in terminology and sequence orders.
There you go. Perfect tool for the nasty dungeon master.
It's a way of letting the players have that thing where they can, contact their mentors, from a continent away. And then have a way of having things go hilariously wrong.
Yeah.
So, I like it. And we may have to stat that up sometime just for fun and giggles.
That sounds good. Shall we talk about what you've been up to, simulation-wise?
Yes. Actually, I've been doing a few things. I got a chance to rewatch The Matrix this week.
Oh, The Matrix. Just the one movie?
Just the first one. I'm a married man, and I got a kid. I only got so much time. I was only able to watch one of the Matrix movies.
That's what you said, I'm a married man. It almost sounded like, it's the time thing, yeah.
No, it's just, I only have so many, continuous hours to watch a movie, and I don't like watching half a movie here, half a movie there.
I mean, there are definitely some racy scenes in the other two Matrixes, but But that whole show, everybody wore like suits and fancy clothes. The
neo or gothic thing, if you allow me to use neo in a double term, slight play on words there.
Yeah, and this not steampunk, cyberpunk almost. Right?
Yeah, a bit of a well, it had affectations to the cyberpunk genre, the trench coat look, the glasses look, but it very much held its own for high style as opposed to the cyberpunks, which is kind of low and trashy. You see the stuff, it's got patches, it's got worn out. Their stuff was new, it was fresh, because it had just been generated by, the code.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's some kind of punk anyways. Or would you even call it punk if it's new? I don't know.
So that's the thing, is because it is new, it kind of delves out of the punk. It's like almost like a neo-gothic style, because it's very elaborate stuff. And I gotta say, I watched it this time around, and I was very much more acutely aware of the symbolism and what was going on there. Like, I appreciated the first time when he holds out, the yellow, the red pill and the blue pill in his hands, and he explains it, and then you see his face, and in his glasses you see the one hand in one lens and the other hand in the other lens, which is not how lenses are supposed to work. If they're anywhere near front facing, you should be able to see both of them at once. And so the whole thing was nice symbolism. I like the subtle touches they did when you're actually in the city. Things are cramped, things are slightly decayed. It's all in all generally uncomfortable.
The city, like in the Matrix?
Yes, well, the city of I suppose it's supposed to be New York, but they only ever refer to it as the cities.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes, it just had all these things that you look at. It's like generally kind of crumbling on the walls, or it's dripping over here, and it's not a place you'd say, I want to go move over here and raise a family in this place. It's like, wow, I want to scrub the walls and maybe see if I can flip it for a profit. So I was very interested, much more this time than ever before, at seeing the little things that made the setting all that more.
Did it make a difference knowing the ending, do you think? Because when you first saw The Matrix, you didn't even know what The Matrix was. You didn't know they were in The Matrix.
Right? Spoiler alert, by the way. But whatever, if you haven't seen it by now, you have to get your head out of that rock and go see it somehow, some way.
But I suppose that did make a difference. That made you look at it differently, right?
Not really, because ultimately I willfully disacknowledge the ending of the trilogy.
Okay.
In my mind, the trilogy ends about 10 minutes before the end of the second movie.
Right.
Which I do believe was the second one was still a very good movie, and then you get rid of the last 10 minutes and everything goes to weirdness. Neo shooting lightning out of his hands in real life. It's like, no.
So which movie did the line come, though, when they said that the humans couldn't handle the perfect Matrix?
That would be in the first one, when the Agent Smith is trying to hack Morpheus's brain.
So they explain why the world looks the way it does.
And I'm not certain if it's just supposed to be that it's to get at you, like it's not a perfect world, or if maybe there's a little bit of maliciousness there. Because, you can have good places and still not have it be a perfect world. You can have a nice park here and there. But no, by and large, everything. There's garbage in the corners here and there. It saves, Neo as he's jumping out, as he's escaping at one point. So it winds up being a net benefit. But, it's generally uncomfortable, kind of miserable. And is it supposed to be that way? Because humanity can't, perceive like, I can live in a high-class world. Not really. I think it might just be a little bit of computer maliciousness. Like, you deserve to live in garbage, you filthy little shaven monkey.
Maybe. Although it's sort of like, on another level, because there are different levels, The Matrix sort of explains maybe why our world is the way it is, why we don't have the things that we want.
Because we don't have 3D printers yet. Once we can get those out everywhere, and those books to publish on demand thing, oh boy, we'll be in tune for a very nice upswing in humanity.
Can you 3D unprint garbage? I guess you could print cans or brooms or something, or robots that can clean up the garbage.
Or you could just give people enough spare time that you can bully them for charity work. Hey, our place is dirty. You got a lot of free time now because you don't have to go hunting for everything. You just go one spot and get what you need. Mm-hmm. So now they got this free time. How about you help us clean up a little bit, buddy?
I suppose like the other things you can 3D print are gloves and boots and respirators and all that stuff to make the job less, unpleasant.
It will get even better when we get more into the textile 3D printing as opposed to just, like plastic, bendable plastic. So I'm going to be very happy on that. I have some very big ideas about what's going to happen with clothing once we can print on demand.
Okay.
So
watch for the next big thing coming from Ryan.
No seams, and honestly, I believe the discardable clothing sort of thing, especially if we can have some way to break it back down into something we can reuse to print again, it's going to be as big as the toilet. It's going to be as big as indoor plumbing. The concept that you will wear, like clothes for 2 days in a row, will be utterly disgusting. You will go home at the end of the day, you switch out your clothes, you take your old clothes, you put them into the recycling vat that breaks them down into the materials you're going to reuse for your next set of clothes.
Okay.
And you don't have to wash any of your clothes. You don't have a favorite sweater or anything like that. You get your clothing patterns, you have them printed up fresh, and the concept of wearing clothes that you've worn before will be so vehemently disgusting to people. It'll be like, you don't have an indoor bathroom? You don't have toilet paper? Ew. What, are you still working on the old, like a side chamber pots that we got there? Yeah, welcome to the 18th century, buddy. It's going to be like that. That's my prediction for the future as soon as we can properly 3D print clothing.
Well, I will say, though, like, if you have, you have the 3D printer in your home, though, and if you're recycling your clothes, assuming they're not just going in a landfill.
Well, that is my general thing is, if we start learning how to print stuff, we're going to have to start learning how to break stuff down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you think hoarding is bad now. They're going to have mega hoarders coming up in the future. And it'll just be people, I got to print this out, I love this design, I got to print out every one of these for the full set. And they'll go absolutely nuts on the printing. It's going to happen because there are some people who are wired that way. So the more we get the 3D printers out, the more we're going to figure out technology to break everything back down to its base again.
Yeah, I hope so. But although, like, when it comes to clothes and stuff, wouldn't it be simply less energy to do the old traditional wash your clothes? Like, rather than break the whole clothes down? And
wouldn't it simply be more,
them?
Energy efficient to not, use toilet paper at all?
Use water instead, you mean? Or
No, nothing. Maybe a corn cob. Like they used to do back before toilet paper was a thing that people would go and cut down trees for. I'm
not sure I understand the analogy, because at least with clothes, you're washing them. It's not like you're...
Well, here's the thing: it's one of those things that people are going to start associating, like, oh, you've worn that before. That's not something fresh. Who knows what sort of sweat and grime and whatever you've encountered. It's not as hygienic as fresh stuff. Like, you were out in the park the other day, and your jeans, hit down on the ground. Who knows what sort of bacteria is in there? Who knows what animal's done what on there? You better break those jeans down to the base, make sure they're sanitized, and print something fresh up. Otherwise, it's just not sanitary enough.
I don't know. Well,
and that'll be the equivalent to the precursors to our modern toilet paper.
I suppose I have a hope for a different track.
Okay.
This might not turn out, but there's also the possibility of genetically sequencing the microbial fauna of our bodies and understanding them better, so that you don't have to worry so much about encountering foreign microbes, because you have genetically engineered immune system that will be able to fight things.
Well, that's the thing, is ideally, if you're getting out, you're having a good time, you're eating right, you're having a proper lifestyle, rolling around on the park grass is not going to cause you to, oh no, now I've got all sorts of bacteria and diseases. No, your body naturally fights that stuff off. It should be able to do that now.
Yeah.
But it's always the public perception, and that's why those, like, oh, this is a disinfectant spray. You can spray it on all sorts of counters and surfaces. By and large, what you have in your house is not going to kill you, because it's what you already have with you to some degree. I do recommend cleaning down after you're working with raw chicken, because that's just good, practice. But you don't need to do it after every time you utilize every surface. That's nuts, and people, think that's nuts because that's how, they've been trained to think. buy various, things like antibacterial. You're not using antibacterial stuff on your surfaces. You horrible, filthy person.
So it's not just a question of science, then. It's a question of the culture, really.
Which is, as much as I would love to be pure science, is something you just can't ignore. There's always a culture attached to us. And so once you can print out your own new clothes every day, you're not going to have a favorite sweater. You're going to have a favorite sweater pattern. And that'll be what you fresh print up whenever it gets a little cold indoors. Instead of turning up the heat, print out a fresh sweater and wear that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a cultural pressure in that direction. I agree with you there, that we like clean things and we like to be sure and, absolutely positive that there's nothing on this. But there's also a cultural pressure towards, there's the whole naturalistic movement. I mean, as wrong as they often are, but the naturalistic fallacy.
Dangerously wrong sometimes. Not as often as their detractors will say, but just often enough to make you really worry.
But we also have that undercurrent in our culture, so we also have people who are more interested in dirty things and interested in natural.
We have people that will wash their shirts after one day's use, and then we have what we term like the bachelor lifestyle, where you don't have clean and dirty. You've got like several piles for clean to absolutely must wash. I remember a scene in Ghostbusters 2 where Peter Venkman says, "Oh, no, that's not dirty. You just hang it outside for 10 minutes and it's all aired out and clean, ready to go again." So he doesn't have the clean, dirty piles. He has various gradients, which is termed as the bachelor lifestyle, I believe, these days.
I won't comment on that.
I think, with some things, it's proven weird. If you've been going out and physically exercising, your shirt is likely dirty. There is some stuff, I remember some scientific things saying that if you wear a pair of jeans and you're not doing anything dirty with it, you're not exercising, you're not going out and rolling around in muck, the amount of bacteria and whatnot on your jeans doesn't change between about day 2 to about month 2 all that much.
Oh, that's good to know.
So, according to scientists, you can apparently wear a pair of jeans for almost 2 months, and it's really not worse than wearing it for only a couple days. Provided you don't, physically exert yourself out too much, and you're not sweating all over in there because it's like a summer heat wave or anything. According to scientists, you should be fine. But that's not what social perceptions say.
Right, yeah.
You should probably wash those jeans, buddy, is what the social perception is saying. And then they add, while you're doing it, use this detergent, which we're providing for you at a nice, low, house brand price.
But our culture, is also changing. Technology's changing, and so is our culture. And I think we're becoming more educated. I think people are becoming more rational-minded, hopefully. I mean, that's my...
Not as we all like the rising tide, everybody comes up equally.
Yeah.
But here and there, one person becomes a little bit more aware, a little bit more conscious, and so it's spiking in little bits and pieces.
And the internet is becoming more and more ubiquitous.
Especially when you're dealing the two together, and then you've got the people who's like, I wonder if this fact is true, and then they go hit the Snopes website and they say, that's an urban legend, and it was discounted back in 1989.
Yeah, so there's the question of whether people will sort of figure out that they don't really need to throw out their clothes every day, versus the fact that they can, and they might feel like they want to.
Well, I mean, you've always got this sort of people that, have huge closets full of stuff but I like this pattern, I like that. For them, it very much will behoove them to have the patterns stored electronically and then printed the stuff up as they so desire. And so instead of having like 3 or 4, wardrobes full of this and that, they will have a few terabytes of information that they can have stored wherever the heck they want. They can, maybe it'll even be cloud stored. Then they can go to anybody's place and just get it printed out as they so need, which would be kind of boss, I think.
It's funny. I don't imagine. I don't even know anything about computer imaging, but I don't imagine those files being very large.
No, but I'm imagining the kind of person that would have 3 or 4 wardrobes, closets absolutely full of clothes. If you were to eliminate the space that those clothes take up,
yeah, you can download
they'd probably really get a lot of stuff. They'd be the kind of people that'd be like, I'm going to this free file sharing site, and I'm looking at whatever patterns really catch my eye from people that have done it, independently. They're very indie clothes style, but I'm making sure to download them because I like them, and so they'll wind up getting full terabytes worth of information in the end.
Although I wonder now if you're being old-fashioned with download. I suppose this is still not controversial, but downloading is a thing that we might not do in 10 years. We might just...
Okay, file transfer. Because if it's going
in your library, in your favorites, I guess, it'd be...
Well, that's the thing, is if you're doing a cloud computing and you're moving it from that file to the cloud, technically you're not downloading it, or because it's kind of like a side loading, really.
Yeah, side loading.
In the image where we got the up and down load from, it would be a side load, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figure for in the future, clothing patterns will be kind of like Minecraft skins. You just go to the website and say, "Oh, I like these skins," and they're all for free.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're on like the Xbox, Minecraft, in which case there's something else going there. I'm talking about the PC, the true format.
Yeah.
And so you just like, "Oh, I like these skins," and then you download all the skins you want, put them in a file, and then when you want to change over, you do it as needed. And so that's what I figure once the 3D printing for textiles comes out. That's what we're going to be seeing a lot of for people like, an independent clothing design site.
Yeah. Now, I wonder how much they're going to, like, the new designs. I guess there might be, like, prestige designs by, like, the big names in fashion might have their own designs that cost a lot of money just for the blueprint or the file, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. You see that in fashions right now. It's like, this is, the proper artist style. Oh, this is a cheap knockoff brand. You can tell because of this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And so it'll wind up being that, you can tell this is a designer name brand, a pattern here. This is a bit of a knockoff one. She said, I suppose there might wind up being some copyright information as to who can do what for basic designs. But I don't think they're going to get as far as they want. It's going to be really hard to properly copyright a pair of jeans.
But yeah, can you pirate a Louis Vuitton bag? I mean, they already
in the 3D printing era. When it comes to textiles, eventually you will. It'll be Louis Photon, if you'll allow me to.
Photon.
Yes, it's a nice double play on words there. So and it'll be like, it's technically a knockoff brand, but you know what? It was free.
Yeah, well, not even knockoff brand. They could literally download the exact program and just, jailbreak it or whatever. Take the
which is going to be an interesting thing too, because I remember some of those things. For like, don't steal files, song files, download them and all that. It's like you wouldn't like download a car. You wouldn't download a pizza. You wouldn't
now
download
you can download a car.
It's getting closer and closer to the ability to actually do that. Yes. And they're going to be so surprised when, you can actually download a car.
You have to assemble it.
Yeah, but well before that, you will be able to download shirt patterns, and blouses and hair scrunchies or whatever the heck is in fashion. For all I know, leg warmers will come back, and that'll be the next big thing.
Yeah, well, you're predicting the seamless clothing, the one pieces.
Well, that's the thing is, if it's getting printed, like on a 3D printer, there's not going to be a need for seams. And so, if you don't need seams, why are you printing them? So you're going to have effectively what is seamless clothing.
I think they can make, there is such a thing as seamless clothing.
It'll be a retro style.
I suppose it's not as common, but
it'll be wind up like knitting clothes together, but it'd be a computer, so it does it much faster.
Yeah.
And hopefully without the horrible designs, the crazy aunts always make for everyone when they're doing their Christmas, stitching together. So, knock on wood, we won't have it like mandatorily crazy, sweater patterns, because on the other hand, maybe that becomes in fashion. I'm not one to dictate what fashion will become. I'm just saying, I'm going to say there's enough statistical likelihood that this is how it's going to wind up going.
I suppose, your crazy aunt could make
that could be her fashion
program.
line. That could be her thing. She's known about the internet. I love her crazy designs. They're so kitsch. I print one off at least once a week. You never know what becomes big. I mean, I see memes on the internet some days that are just so crazy. It's like, wow, you guys thought that was worth copying and parodying over and over again? So maybe crazy sweaters will be in fashion. It'll be the internet fashion trend.
I guess the other thing about like printable T-shirts is, you know how on the internet it's like everybody does T-shirts and it's like, oh, funny T-shirt, you know, order it from us now, and those are popular. Everybody has novelty T-shirts.
I remember our co-host slash special guest Kathy. She was printing all sorts of, she was getting all sorts of T-shirts, and I always liked the designs. Lord knows, if I had the cash, I'd be getting them, if nothing else, to show my support for the people who are making them, because some of them, it's for the webcomic people.
Yeah.
And they need money to survive, because it's not easy trying to survive off of webcomic revenue. So.
Yeah. Well, it'll have to be. I mean, the nice thing about webcomic writers is they're already, like those, well, today they are. They're the people on the forefront right now. So
they're riding the wave.
You know, they're looking where the puck's going to be. So they're the type of people who can probably anticipate stuff like this.
And here's the thing, is their characters are copyrighted by them. So if you want to print out a shirt for, we'll go with questionable content, because it's a big name, it's got a nice cast, and I know the guy there does some other stuff on the side with that, and especially shirts. So if you want, to print out, a questionable content shirt, you're going to have to go to him to get the proper design for it. Maybe it's only more like in the future, a T-shirt design is 99 cents, same as getting a song.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you do it. That's how you show your support. It's like, well, 99 cents for a shirt, I'll pick up a half dozen.
I wonder, also, Bitcoin or real money?
Well,
I guess we'll have to see what happens.
A single Bitcoin at this point is worth, what, $600 now?
Oh, I don't know.
So they'll have to have bit pennies in the future.
Yeah, I think you can do. I think they decimalize Bitcoin as small as you like. I'm not sure how that works, but
I'll take 1 pi of a Bitcoin, please. Just to completely screw over all the machines and transactions.
Okay, yeah, divide by pi, done.
But then it's got to write out like how much money you got in the whole thing, and then it's like, the computers slowly start getting aware just because of the anger for it. I know it.
Okay.
I know it.
So you were watching The Matrix.
Yes. And I've loved. I love watching something I haven't seen for a while, but is like both iconic for its time and a good movie. Because that way I get to watch it again and see like, oh, this is very like end 90s style. Or, oh, this gave rise to this other stuff we see later on. Or it's like, I never got the symbolism before, but I've seen myself use it. And it was so powerful, even though I wasn't conscious of the symbolism, of the style, I made sure to imitate it.
Okay.
And so that's what I like doing, because that's who I am. And the first Matrix movie still holds up, still wonderful. And the CGI just doesn't look hackneyed yet. So hooray! Because let's face it, some movies with CGI don't age well.
Well, I remember seeing a making of, and one of the things they did was one of the big scenes, they had it raining, and that basically hides the wires or whatever. So it's easier to do.
An old-fashioned trick is still good.
Oh yeah.
I have some nice things
that.
from If Chins Could Kill, the Bruce Campbell book about the tricks they used in the Evil Dead movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It was great. I see the movie. I know the tricks now. It doesn't mean it's any less different. The movie The Wizard of Speed and Time, if you can get a hold of that out there, I recommend it. I don't think it's been out on production since, say, Laserdisc. Disney just doesn't like it for some reason, but it involves a lot of special effects with the old-fashioned style. And I think it's even better to know the tricks to see how they do it later on. And the tricks still work, and no matter how old that movie gets, the trick will still look as good as it did the first time because, well, the technology of a trick doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
But CGI gets better resolution, better texture, things look a little bit less like soft, moldy play. It's just, it increases. I mean, if you want to see like how things upgrade, take a look at the original Diablo and StarCraft trailers and stuff. Everybody there was like little clay chunky bits. You look at something now they produce out, it's so much better resolution and texture, but it's going to look hackneyed in 10 years.
Sure, yeah.
That's how it goes. That's technology progressing. A trick will always be a trick. No one's going to see a stage magician and go, oh God, that is so low resolution, you cutting her in half. No, a trick's a trick. Real life resolution is always real life resolution. You can't do better than that, so rain to hide wires, Not a problem. That's a great trick.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see. This week I also got a chance to see the Wolfman meets Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, though, as part of our main topic. It's just interesting because it's another movie I saw twice now, and I've been able to notice different things about it.
Oh, good.
So,
cool.
Other than that, I encountered a problem in Minecraft this week as I played. I dug down really, really deep to get to some diamonds, because I need diamonds for, spell crafting. I need my own little spell crafting spot.
How long have you had Minecraft for? And you're finally getting diamonds?
No, that's just for this map.
Okay.
I needed to... Plus, don't forget, all the achievements are now always map dependent.
Oh, yeah.
So if you got it, you're going to have to go get it again. You're going to have to start from the beginning again, check your inventory, and progress from there.
Yeah.
But I was down near the very bottom of the map, down at level 3 and 4, I believe it was, and I encounter a lot of magma. So I've got 4 buckets. I start hauling magma up 4 at a time. And I noticed I'm losing magma. Some of the buckets full of magma just became buckets. There's no magma flowing anywhere else out. I didn't accidentally drop the magma out. The magma dissipated somehow.
Yeah, I've never had that problem before. I've never seen.
And it wasn't a one-time occurrence. This happened about a half dozen times in a single evening of trying to clean the magma up so I can do something with the ground underneath. Was your inventory full at the time, or? No, there was enough room for everything.
Yeah.
And there was a few times where, it's like I scoop something up and it's like, you've got a bucket full of... Nope, now it's empty. It just disappeared that quick. Sometimes I'd be climbing up the side to move it to my magma storage area on the map, and now it's gone. And I was able to see it. I'm climbing up on some vines. I got 4 buckets of magma in areas, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of my my little 9 little inventory screen.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just a bucket. Just a bucket. So I've encountered a new kind of bug and error. Huzzah!
Well, I suppose it's probably just a bug. I don't imagine what sort of gameplay element would cause that, unless there's a lava thief in there. Herobrine?
No, I made sure to check up the thing. In the latest patch, they removed them.
They removed Herobrine, so it can't be Herobrine.
That's something they've put in the last 3 sets of patch notes I've noticed, though. So, good luck on that one. But, if I had less magma to work with, I might be angry about the whole thing. But, you know what? I've got, just off the top of my head, doing some quick mental notes, 120 magma sources. I can do a lot of damage to the landscape with this if I wanted to. I could create a lot of obsidian if I wanted to. But you know what? At this point, it's just making sure I don't burn myself to death while I'm mining down underground.
The small comforts, not burning to death.
Well, that's the thing is, occasionally I'll be listening to a podcast in the background and I'll be, ha, that was kind of funny, and I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing, because it's like, okay, end of the night, time to go up the wall and back home, and it's like, no, now I'm on fire, please tell me I'm not going to die. And actually did die at one point this last week.
Oh, yeah.
I was burnt, and so I was climbing up an area, and I use vines instead of ladders, because the vines grow down, and so it's cheaper. And there was nothing there, and so I wound up falling. The fall itself would not have killed me if I was at full health. But because I wasn't at full health, because I got burned, I lost 45 levels.
Oh.
I know. And that's what really gave me even more impetus to try and get, the whole, crafting and enchanting table going together. Because I don't want to do that again. I want to blow my level load by the time I hit 30.
Yeah.
Not I'm bloated at 45. What am I going to do now? So, no, I want to make sure I'm doing good on this.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to have to go hunting for cows now. So I guess that's an adventure I'll have later on in the upcoming week.
Cool. The great cow hunt.
Well, that's the thing. It's always I can find pigs. I can find chickens. For some reason, cows always get me. I can never find just I wander over here and there's a cow. No, I wander over here, pig. Wander over there, chicken. Chicken, pig, chicken. Maybe a wolf, some lambs here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Cows seem to avoid me, and that's my lot in Minecraft life. So it's going to have to be an epic journey. Pack up lots of resources and prepare for multiple nights worth.
I used to have that, on early maps, I used to have that problem, and then I started, you go out, you do your first cow finding mission. It's like, oh, it's a big deal. You know, I'm going a long way away. I need lots of food. And then you find cows, and either you kill them and get the leather, or if you're ambitious, you have some wheat and you...
Yeah, I will lure mine back, because I'm doing the Umbral Paradise. I'm going to have to move the cow up about 250 vertical levels, because at a certain point, I'm just not going to come back down.
Yeah.
Once I get an enchanting table built up there, and I put in a whole nice system whereby I can grow grass so that I can have the sheep up there, that the sheep constitute with their wool the growing base of my over level. If I eventually run out of dirt, I'll have to go back down, but by then things are going to be very dark and very different. And that's kind of the intention.
Yeah, that's cool. But after I get cows back, then it's like, oh, I found cows, over here, over there, cows everywhere. So, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Maybe.
I think I might be able to abuse the map a little bit, because I've noticed, I went out, early in the game, I found some chickens, and those chickens were my life sand at the early part of the game.
Sure, yeah.
Because, eggs,
I hope you cooked them.
Well, the thing is, there at one point I had 4 full stacks of chicken. Just roast chicken. 4 full stacks of it, because every night I'd go home, collect all the eggs, throw them against the wall, and, let more chickens grow up. And I'd butcher the chickens in the night, and I'd cook them up, and that's what I was doing as I was waiting for daylight to arrive. But now that I've progressed beyond that, I'm just, I'm getting a little hungry, pop up a carrot, eat that, done for the day, away I go. That's how I'm working. So I like them, and I cleared out the local area of them. Since then, I've encountered chickens again and again, and I've been able to do that with pigs, too. And so it seems by going up far enough, the map says, okay, don't bother loading, it's too far away. And so it resets whether or not animals will appear.
Oh, yeah, I think that's you're right.
So I may wind up being able to abuse the system a little bit. If I can get one cow somewhere nearby, I can get almost all the cows I'll ever need nearby, because they'll keep spawning there.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go to this area. I know there's some wolves if I head out to the northwest. So I'll go, I'll collect another wolf tournament dog so I can have a breeding pair. And while I'm out there, I guess I'll give more of a look for cows while I'm at it. And that's how it'll go. If I can find one nearby, I can get as many as I want nearby according to my I might be cheating suspicion.
I'm not quite sure, but it might be a little bit. But it's in the game, so...
I didn't intend for it originally. It's just something I picked up. I come down, I go outside, I look out, and there's like 30 jungle cats just standing around everywhere. And it's like, wow, that was something weird. But if that's how the game works, that's how the game works.
Yeah, well, that's the story of Minecraft. A lot of people play it that way, finding glitches and taking advantage.
C'est la vie. But how about you? What have you been up to this week?
Oh, me? Well, I mean, probably Minecraft is my biggest, simulation.
That's my I'm shocked gasp.
Now, I told you about starting a dirt castle, did I?
Yes.
An entire castle made of dirt, so I kept on working on that. I built some walls.
So are you working with a pure square pattern for a traditional older castle style, working with the Minecraft design, or are you actually trying for rounded edges?
I haven't got that far yet. What I have is... the walls around, how like a castle will be, there's the inner building.
Yeah, the outer perimeter.
Yeah, so I've done an outer perimeter, which is 12 blocks tall, like all around. And it follows the contours of the land, so it's not just a boring square, but it is a square, and it is a little bit boring. But I'm going to add like little doors and alcoves leading off out to different places in the countryside. And,
very nice.
So I have all my big plans for it. I guess most of what I've been done is think about what I want to add.
Well, hey, first you got to think up the idea, then you got to implement it. If you try implementing without a thought, you get some very ugly things from what I've seen.
What I try to do with Minecraft is I try to work without too much thinking, because I want to have organic structures, and I think interesting things happen when you just go and you don't think.
See, that's why I've got the 2 maps, one for when I don't want to think, and one for when I want to try and be extra artsy.
Yeah. And of course, if I don't like, if something turns out wrong, I know it's often hard, but I want to give myself permission to be like, no, that didn't work, tear it down, do something else instead.
Well, like, it has to be this way, the master design says so. Because I remember a few times when I was building something big, and it's like, oh, why is there this big empty hollow space underneath? I need to fill this with something so I don't kill myself as I'm mining it out.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta fix this dang nature.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I understand the benefits of sometimes working on the fly.
Yeah. So, yeah, and today I just dug a tunnel. My castle it's on the border of an ocean and mountains and a snowy forest.
Taiga.
Yeah. Although it's not going to be snowy as soon as I update, which I haven't done yet, but once I update, it won't be snowy anymore.
Oh.
Except for, if I build up high.
That is kind of awesome. See, I'm holding off on that sort of thing. I'm too much. I want to keep myself in the jungle, and I don't want to go up too high. It's like, oh, I'm in a snowy jungle biome now.
Yeah, that might not even. Have you experimented with that?
Well, I'm up to level 253 sort of thing, and nothing's snowed yet. But I've gotten very little precipitation lately, and it's starting to affect my Enderman numbers. I'm used to them getting hit by the rain and just portaling out, and it's like, I don't need to deal with you anymore.
Oh, yeah. Do you sleep at night?
I do tend to sleep at night these days. I mean, I could do some other things, but you know what?
Because I think it resets the weather every time you sleep.
Oh, well, no wonder. Yeah. Well, the few times it has rained, it's like, okay, end of day, it's raining. Shear the sheep, go to sleep. Wake up, oh, that is the end of that.
Yeah, I think that's something I've noticed.
Although I will also note, as I progress more area up on top, the rain becomes less and less important because it's not hitting anywhere I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that often happens in Minecraft. Yeah.
So, that's a quirk of my map right now.
But, I think you might not have to worry in a jungle because I think the snow line, I guess, it would be higher than the map ever goes.
Okay. Well, that's good to know that.
I think that's the case for, jungle and desert. And although it would be cool to have snow in the desert. If you had a really high desert, I think that would be kind of nice.
That'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
I can see some people saying, oh, it ruins my, Arabic theme. I was trying to build a wonderful, Agrabah castle, and now there's snow on the top of my dome. It's like, sorry, buddy.
Well, if it's that tall, though, I think it'd be kind of cool to have snow. That's how big you made it.
And I'm okay with that myself.
Yeah, I guess some people would be. Yeah.
But other people, it's like, I just wanted to work with a desert theme. I didn't want snow. I wanted, desert style. But then again, maybe they're the kind of people that wouldn't be, appeased until they get sandstorms in the desert.
Oh, speaking of snow in the desert, I saw. Didn't even read the thing, but I saw there was buzz about Egypt getting snow.
Yeah. I know Israel got a decent amount of snow. I saw them doing snowballs and having fun. And you know what? We hear a lot of stuff about them. It's like, oh, they're fighting, and all these people blew themselves up over here for a fight. It's kind of nice. It's like, hey, this is Israel. This is Israel. Welcome to the highly contested city of Jerusalem. And there's a bunch of people laughing, throwing snowballs at one another.
As long as they're laughing. Yeah.
Maybe that's why the Middle East is such an angry place. They don't get enough snow. Because snow is like, I'm going to hit you with something, and then instead of an explosion, it's like, paf, snow. Everyone lets off a little steam. What's the worst that happens? Maybe you get your glasses knocked off. Oh no, you pick them up and you keep going. You throw snowballs back.
Well, I guess it's different from, bullets and rocket-propelled grenades.
And that's what happens when you don't have enough snow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why some people see America as much more violent than Canada. Canada's got more snow. We have longer winters. We vent our frustrations by doing snowballs.
Well, that's a crackpot theory.
It is a crackpot theory, but, I was honestly quite happy just to see, it's like, oh, this is the scene in Jerusalem today. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, yeah. It's like, when was the last time you saw people running through the streets on a news story about Jerusalem and they were laughing? So it was a very nice change of pace from what I've been expecting. So, hooray. It didn't last too long, so I hope anybody who's from that area, and is listening to that right now, I hope you enjoyed it while you had it. It's a great weather phenomenon to get snow.
Yeah, and if you want more of it, we have... Well, actually, Victoria doesn't have too much, but the rest of Canada has plenty of snow.
You can always go to northern Saskatchewan. You don't want to stay there very long, but you can go there and experience the snow until you get bored and then go back to better weather land.
Right. I think that covers my Simulationist week.
In that case, there's a bit of news I would like to cover this week.
Okay,
While we're sagging from the whole snow in the Holy Land,
okay.
the Snowly Land. For the first time in 37 years, mankind has done something with the moon besides just look at it and try and beam lasers.
Yeah, I read about this.
China landed a remote rover on the moon. And this is good because, there is different challenges to landing on the moon as it is from landing on Mars. Aside from just, the radio contact distance getting really out of whack. There's no atmosphere on the moon. If you try like what they're using on Mars to land, you're going to wind up with one more crater. That's just how it goes. You're going to have a parachute flailing behind doing nothing because there's no atmosphere to catch it, and then bam, your lunar rover is now a lunar pancake. But yeah, they got the Jade Rabbit.
Oh.
Hey, if you can find a nice, tasty way to make a gray pancake, we're in business. Lunar pancakes. But yeah, I think it was the Jade Rabbit is what they called it. It landed, and it's now currently up on the moon searching for resources. Because that's what China's all about, man. China's big into resource use.
Yeah, well, I like resources.
Yeah, but they're big into really using them.
Okay.
You've seen what they've done to parts of their own ecology. But that's okay. There's no atmosphere on the moon. How much pollution can you have when there's no atmosphere? So they can mine whatever the heck they want out of the moon, and they won't have to worry about, oh no, this endangered species. There's no endangered species up there. There's no ecosystem up there. Yeah. This is perfect for nations like China. They don't have to worry about anything except you made the moon look ugly in this spot. It looks like it's got a tumor here.
Well,
way to go, China.
They can mine resources, but probably the harder part is getting them back to Earth.
That is right. I have been told that if they were to have Fort Knox suddenly be on the moon, it would not be worthwhile to go to the moon, get the gold, and come back.
Yeah.
It costs too much energy. But China's about this sort of thing, It's like, well, can we automate it somehow? Can we do better?
Mm-hmm.
The plans that some people have put on Earth are like, oh, can we just have a tether come down and latch it up and pull away? On the moon, with the gravity being 1/6, it's that much easier.
Oh yeah, I've heard that a space elevator is actually feasible with.
The smaller the planet or planetoid, the easier it gets to become feasible. So. But yeah, for the next 3 months, it'll be looking for resources, and then it'll be doing some stuff to see, where's the best place to try and land an astronaut on the moon, or whatever astronaut is in Chinese.
Taikonaut is that Japanese? Taikonaut, I believe, is what they call the Chinese.
Which is a good enough name. If you got your cosmonauts over in Russia, you got your astronauts here in the English-speaking West. Taikonauts works for the Asiatic areas.
Well, I think every country... Shouldn't there be a Kanakanaut or something?
No, we're just kind of mooching off of America for the stuff. If they need the Canadarms sent up again, then, it goes up with their stuff.
Except, or
I suppose Dragon X now, yeah.
Or I guess the private companies.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is the SpaceX program is launching stuff up, so it's a very interesting time off of the planet right now. We've got corporations sending stuff up. We got very suspicious nations, depending on who you talk to, sending stuff up. Very exciting, and it hasn't been this exciting up in space, since Chris Hadfield was, singing songs up in the space station. But before that, it's been considered fairly dull. So hooray!
Yeah, I guess it hasn't been this exciting since the Cold War.
Yeah, things are getting exciting. It's heating up in space
Unfortunately,
again.
I don't believe Well, I guess there could be a war that we don't know about. There's all that spying, but
the hidden space wars.
There's no real Cold War going on now. So.
There's always the information wars going on. Who's collecting what data on
cyber wars and all that.
Yeah. And according to some people, China is heavily, recruiting for proper hackers to hack into Western companies to steal their proprietary information so that they can give it to their own companies, so that they don't have to research independently. They can just go on from that higher up step and do better for less resources. So.
I guess, in a way there is sort of a Cold War, because there are hacker groups working for both countries, spying on each other and trying to hack into each other.
And then there's Anonymous doing all sorts of stuff, we took down the CIA page, lol. They really didn't take down the CIA, they took down the web page, which is about the same as ripping off somebody's poster, but whatever. you get your lulls where you can get them, wherever.
Was that from an XKCD comic?
I believe that is a reference to one of their older ones. The CIA doesn't keep anything really important on the CIA website. That'd be absolutely mind-bogglingly nuts.
Okay.
So yeah, actually taking down the CIA website is equivalent to ripping off someone's poster.
Yeah, sure.
So
someone who has a lot of guns and a lot of money and all that, but still.
And knows where to hide the bodies. You will just be a missing person. You're never officially pronounced deceased. So yeah, that's the wonderful news thing we have this week is, China landed on the moon. They did it successfully. Things are getting awesome once again. They're looking at maybe establishing a base sometime. Right now they're going through the motions, making sure they get up both the technical base as well as the experience base. Because they're not going to want to say, okay, we're just going to automatically try and colonize the moon. We got enough people to spare. We're just going to keep throwing at them, at the moon till it works. They're making sure to do this right.
Yeah.
Say, okay, we can get a person into space. We can bring them down. We can get a person into orbit. We can get a lunar rover going. Okay, step by step, and they're catching up to the rest of the spacefaring nations that way. So, congratulations, China. If you're listening, we fully support you in exploring the rest of the universe. I've been told it's an amazing place, but space is called space because there's an awful lot of space up there. So
yeah, I suppose I support China in that particular endeavor. There are other endeavors which China doesn't
There are
do
some
as
things
well.
I'm looking at you with a critical eye and a wagging finger.
But yeah, as far as the space stuff goes, good on you.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations. Because they didn't need to do this. They could have just found some sort of lonely province. They could have found some resources there. But no, they're thinking bigger. And as I've said before, it just seems like almost nobody these days is really thinking big anymore. No one's making the next Statue of Liberty. No one's carving another Mount Rushmore in for people to go see. No one's thinking truly on an epic thing, something bigger than just, where's the bottom line on this? How can I make profits in the next quarter?
I suppose you mean no one important, because there's the Planetary Society, and there's definitely people calling for big stuff in space.
I can call for all sorts of stuff in space, but if I'm not actually doing anything in space...
you're talking about the influential people.
Yeah. If I'm not... It could be the person that says, I'm selling off lots of the moon, you can have your property on the moon. All it costs is $25, and I'll give you a certificate. You own this part of it.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no way to enforce that. They have no standing in any actual astronomical organizations that really matter. So, yeah, if you... have a planet or a star named after you, it doesn't actually count. They can't enforce it. So does it really matter?
Well, there was one of when the United States had a presidential election last year. Was it last year? I think last year.
Not presidential election. It would have been the congressional stuff about midway through.
Anyways, the last time the United States had an election, one of the candidates said that they would have it wasn't the guy who won, the other guy.
Mitt Romney?
Might have been him, said that they wanted to do a base on the moon.
Mm.
One of the, so they are, somebody's thinking about it.
Well,
I don't know how...
They were only musing about it. They don't seem to have any real, solid plan. China is working solid plans. And in this, I thoroughly encourage them, because they're trying something bigger, something that isn't bottom line next quarter is what? No. They're thinking, how's this going to help us out 20, 30, 50 years down the road? Mm-hmm. Maybe having resources on the moon isn't going to help with China on Earth, but you get something on the moon, it's easier to get something into outer space. So maybe they'll have just get it to the moon as a stopping point, and then they'll have their lunar station. They're building up the resources for more spaceships or whatever to get further other stuff in space.
Yeah, and get the experience.
Yeah, well, once you can radio out, to the moon, say, can you put these things into orbit around here? It's going to actually be easier, energy-wise, to have something built on the moon and sent into orbit around Earth than it is to have something built on Earth and haul it up on Earth's heavy gravity.
I will say that, one of my I imagine would be really cool. It's you see in all the sci-fi things. It's the beginning of the show, 5 minutes in, okay, we get a distress caller. We got so-and-so wants us to go to so-and-so planet. So we fire up the gears, press some buttons on the computer, and the ship launches and goes there. Whereas, like, every mission that we've ever had in space has been years of planning time. It's been, like, budgets and committees and, scientists and peer-reviewed papers and, all this engineering, and everything has to be just right. So I dream of a day when it can be like, we have to go to that planet, punch it in the computer, and go.
Or at least, file a proper flight plan, gas the whole thing up, make it more like a plane ride sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. Like you have to call the control tower.
So, hey, okay, I'm going to be sending something up into the atmosphere here. I'm not going to hit a plane, or is there anything like orbiting up above? I honestly hope the future for sending something up into space is about the same as somebody flying in like the movies. Where all they have to do is look up and make sure they're not going to hit like any power lines as they go, and that's all they have to really worry about.
Yeah, I suppose it might happen like in the far future when if we have like a lot of AI and stuff. It might be that all of your spacecraft is just built in with the
effectively automated, and what's the easiest way to do it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, especially back in like the 60s, when you wanted to send something further out into space, they were looping. It's like it takes 2 loops around this planet, goes off to here, goes this way, and it'll be there at that point in time. If you had a computer program that said planets are here at this point in time, what is the optimal way to do it for the least amount of energy expended, and it'd be supercomputer processes it for a month. Done. Here you go. Instead of spending 2 or 3 years like, I think this is better, we got the energy reports here, someone's working on the numbers there. No. Feed it to the computer. Computer does what a computer does best, calculations.
Yeah, I wonder, like, how hard is that? I mean, it is, obviously, it's rocket science, so it's calculus, it's difficult. Yeah. It's hard.
Well, that's the thing, and it's not just calculus on a stationary thing. If you want to move from one planet to another, that planet is moving while you're going there. If you're going where that planet is, you're going to miss it, because that's not where the planet's going to be when you get close enough to it.
Okay.
It's like the old Space Invaders thing. You want to hit that last Space Invader, you got to fire where it's going to be when your little, knot fires, at the speed of light, ray goes. If you fire where it's at, you're never going to hit it.
So, like a life lesson or something.
Some of the old video games did teach some of the best life lessons, I believe. So
that's what we're all about, anyways. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, that was the big thing, I think, for news. I believe, even if it's not, proper for fiction, it's still something very noteworthy, and I believe it's big. It's big. It's going to cause big things. It's going to cause big dreams.
I'll say. Oh, here's a question, conspiracy theory, if I can. I wonder, like, how you would go about if you wanted to fake what China just did. Because remember, like, before America put men on the moon, they put rovers on the moon. So they did all this. They did what China's doing now. But I wonder, like, can you fake? And I think the answer is no. I don't think.
Can you fake a moon landing in this day and age?
Like a rover landing. Like
if you are on like the inside of the moon, as in because the moon is tidally locked, it has to have an inside and an outside, an Earth side or
the
space
Earth side, right?
If you are on the inside of it, I don't think you can. We got enough astronomical explorers that are able to look at the moon with telescopes in the backyard. Yeah. You said you're in this area. We're not seeing anything. We've got 100 people, every night, and this is a small organization saying it. Saying we can't find anything. No, I think in this day and age, with the power of the telescopes you can buy at a store, it's almost impossible. I mean,
yeah,
you could make an argument about like some sort of like, what they were doing was flashing like like a hologram sort of thing on there. And so what you're really seeing is the same thing as like when you flash something on the wall for like a wall clock.
But that itself would be super expensive and very hard to calibrate, almost as much as costing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
It's not cost effective. The only reason you'd be doing it is out of pride. Which is, don't get me wrong, China can be a prideful nation sometimes.
I'm thinking I wouldn't put it past China if they could fake it to fake it, but it seems like it'd be easier just to send a whole rover.
China seems to be, working on keeping a good professional image on this sort of thing. They want to make sure that if anyone in the Asian countries wants to send something up, they're going to seriously consider China. Maybe not Japan, maybe not like the Philippines and any of the other nations. It seems to say, this is our waters, just simply because they don't want to deal with them at all. But any of the other areas around there, they're going to definitely think, like, we want to get something up there. Could we just send it with your next spacecraft, Mr. China? And China goes, sure, you just have to kiss our ring first.
Okay.
So I think that's what they're trying to do. That and it's military backed. So there's not a lot of room for faking of this sort of stuff because the military needs it for military reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now, of course, but the military has ideas, and if they're funding it, so be it. But yeah, that's the big news story this week.
Okay, yeah, well then with that.
I would want to save this for a little bit later, but in this week I came up with a random generator.
Okay, another random generator. Cool.
Yes, I was thinking about fish and how the fish have funny different names, and they do seem to be most of the time like easily understood names. Bottlenose dolphin.
I heard you correctly. You said fish.
Fish.
Fish, animals.
And this would be something for like if you wanted to create like a false fish species, like you're eating this kind of fish here, which is found in the waters of this fictional country. You want something that sounds kind of real.
Yeah.
But you don't want to have like, anything really more than a name. This would be for like I guess in a D&D campaign where you just want to have like a local flavor, like what kind of fish do they hunt there, and hey, here's a false fish name. It doesn't have any stats. It's not for something you're supposed to attack. If you want to attack it, call it a dire version or whatever, and steal the stats for a shark. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So yes, I've made a nice random fish generator.
All right, so we're gonna play this.
Do you want to give it a try? Let's see how we do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I made sure on this one to have enough different tables that every type of die is required at some point.
Oh, that's my favorite kind of tables.
Maybe not all at once, because, it's just a few different ones depending on how you roll.
Okay.
But first up, roll a 1 die 12, Josh.
Okay, I'll get a D12. Here we go. Oh, I'm assuming that I'm the roller.
Yes, you are rolling on this one here.
Okay. 6.
The base one is a grouper fish.
Okay.
All right,
fish.
so you want to find out what kind of grouper it is? Roll a die 4.
A die 4. What kind of grouper is it? Number 3.
We've got size, shape, and body part pattern. So, roll a die 12 for the size and shape.
Another die.
This is not size category, but size is in, like massive or large or...
All right. 10.
You've got a thick, and then it's a body part pattern. So, roll on table... Body part pattern, die 20.
D20, okay. So it's a thick something grouper. 2.
2, thick whisker grouper, or barbels. The little things that kind of hang out.
Like a
whiskers.
catfish?
Yes, like that.
Okay.
So you've got the thick whisker grouper. There's your fictional fish.
And do I know what color it is? Or is that a different...
Well, unless otherwise stated, they'd be standard fishy colors, which
fishy
I guess
color.
is kind of a gray or in the some sorts of brown.
Okay.
You want to try again? See?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, try again. You can go for another die 12 for your base.
Die 12. 11.
Trevally.
Okay.
Which is one of those nice fish you find over in the Asia area. Very tasty.
From Asia, an Asian
Roll
fish.
a die 4.
Die 4. Trevally.
They're also very nicely designed fish. They're things you see in the tropical patterns and backgrounds and all that. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is something people might recognize. You have got
1.
a basic color type of one.
Basic color.
Roll die 4 for the type of color.
2.
It's a gem-based color.
Oops. Okay.
Oh, okay.
This is a nice tropical.
Yes, I'm quite liking this one. Roll a die 10 to find out what kind of gem color this is.
Die 10. 7.
7, you've got the opal trevally. It's a nice opalescent color, I suppose.
Opal. That's like a milky white, right?
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So you can call it. In this case, the naming of these tables has left a little bit to the vague thing. You can assemble the name a little bit easier when you have the whole thing. So you can call it the opal trevally, or maybe even the opalescent trevally.
Okay, opal trevally, opalescent. Okay,
opalescent trevally.
And that's what I'm having for dinner tonight at the tavern on the lakeside.
There you go.
In the Asian-inspired D&D setting.
Or just some place that imports the fish catch from Asian-themed waters.
Okay.
There you go. I quite like the table. It's got a nice little bit. In this one, I must admit, though, I did make sure to purposely leave out the animal-fish combination, like tigerfish, dogfish, catfish, because there's just so many different types of generic creatures, fantasy-based creatures. I mean, I did what I could. I put mithril in for the metallic colors.
Oh,
I got the fictional bit here and there.
Yeah.
But by and large, I wanted to keep this as applicable to as many different genres as possible.
Okay, are we going to be able to upload this, or...
I think I can do that fairly easily. Link it up, or just convert as necessary. But yeah, I think we can put it up.
Okay,
at least on the Facebook website.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do what I can on that.
Yeah.
It's too bad you didn't get the fourth one on the species name, because we could have had like a number and then a body part. So you could have had like the 4-gilled halibut.
Oh, well, let's just say we did that.
Okay, in that case, roll a die 4.
Die 4.
For the number.
Oops. That was not a real roll.
No, okay.
That's a real roll.
Okay.
Same result.
1. In that case, roll a die 20 for the body part.
Okay. Is that a 10? Yeah, 10.
You've got the one-jawed. The one-jawed, in this case, we'll go back to the other one.
Only one jaw. Wait, is that normal? One jaw?
Well, I'm afraid that's how it goes with random tables. Why is it called the one-jawed? Well, that's why you come up with a reasoning for it.
As opposed to the 3-jawed.
Well, that's the thing is I have stuff like head in here, so you could have potentially rolled for like the 3-headed tuna.
Ah.
The tuna wouldn't actually have 3 heads. There'd be, you could say, something that's like got a design pattern around the gills on each side to look like a separate, head profile. It confuses predators as to where they're supposed to aim at. And so that's why it's called like the 3-headed tuna. It doesn't have 3 heads. It's just a nice name for it.
Or the 2-headed thrina.
There you go. But I find it as a nice basis for coming up with something. And if you get a particularly wonderful name combination, it really does roll off the tongue sometimes. And it's just something to insert. And yeah, so you can have your opalescent trevally for supper at the diner. That's what you're eating as you're drinking brews down as you start the adventure. And I quite like that sort of thing. It's adds a little fun thing. And for something like this, you can keep it with you if you want to roll every time that you're in like an oceanside tavern. It's not going to impact the gameplay. You're not going to have to really wonder where the heck this fish came from. It's something fun for the players to do. Like, what kind of fish are you eating tonight? And I'm eating the opal trevally tonight. It's delicious. You should really try some. And let's face it, as all gamers know, any excuse to roll on a random table is appreciated.
Oh yeah, well I like that.
That's why we have the wand. That's why we have 3 different tables for the Wand of Wonders. Back in first and second editions. What's better than one random one die 100? Roll to figure out which table you're using. It's magnificent.
Well, yeah, that's one of the fun parts. I know some people get tired of that, but I like the rolling dice and the tables and the random stuff.
Well, I'll be honest, I really realized a profound lesson when I was playing Diablo 2. Diablo 2 is not a game in itself. Diablo 2 is a random treasure generator with a game wrapped around it.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned about it, is you're not going in there to actually defeat the 3 prime evils. You're going out there to roll more random loot. That's the long and the short of it.
Yep, and that's fun too. That's
so long as you acknowledge it. I mean, I still get the urge to play it. I'll properly load it up on my computer and play a little bit, just because I want to randomly generate stuff. Although, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere on the Wizards of the Coast website, hidden deep buried because it's old now, is a random treasure table thing for the Diablo style for the magic stuff. So if you can ever hunt that down, you can just click a button for it, and every time you click, it'll randomly generate, and you can choose from like various level stuff and get all sorts of really wonderfully unbalanced stuff, which Diablo 2 is known for. So
sure.
So yes, random treasure tables. In this case, random fish.
That was cool. That was a neat thing.
I quite liked it. I'm happy that I made it, and it just kind of came to me. So I'm looking at this kind of fish, looking at that kind of fish. It's like bottlenose dolphin, long fin grouper. I could make a random table doing this. Random table? I'd be stupid not to make a random fish generator now that I've had the thought. So I did.
All right. Well, we have some time left to get into our main topic. We went on a lot of different rabbit trails there, but
well, the thing, perhaps this week it's more of a potpourri rather than some preambles and then a main topic.
We did mention Jade Rabbit was the name of the...
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The Jade Rabbit, in reflection to the name of the moon goddess that they believed for their mythology there. She had a pet, which was a Jade Rabbit. So that's why they named the lunar rover the Jade Rabbit.
Okay.
It's not actually green or anything, to the best of my knowledge. It's metallic gray, like everything everybody sends into space.
Okay, yeah. So, one more final topic. We can finally get on to it.
It happens sometimes.
You had a topic.
I watched, for the second time, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. And the first time I watched it through, it was as a part of a continuation of the Wolfman's appearances in the Universal horror movies.
Yep.
This time around, it was through the end, almost, of the Frankenstein series of movies. Mm-hmm. And I realized a couple things. One, the whole Frankenstein walk where his arms are outstretched.
Yeah.
It's because in that movie he's supposed to be blind. In the previous movie, The Ghost of Frankenstein, his brain got replaced with Igor's. And it's not a good match. And so Igor's senses started shutting down on him. He'd be trapped forever within Frankenstein's body. And Frankenstein's mentality. There were some weird things I thought about brains back then I don't want to get into because it was kind of stupid in retrospect.
Okay, yeah.
But, so he was blinded at the end of the movie. And so in this new movie here, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, he's blind. And so he walks around with his arms outstretched. And that's how he's like, oh, let's imitate Frankenstein. That's what you do.
That's where we get that, iconic Frankenstein walk.
He kind of walked around with his arms, stretched out long, but that was kind of down to look like, I've got kind of a corpse,
down to the side, out to the sides a little bit.
Yeah, slightly off to the side, and, just like, I'm big and intimidating sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The arms outstretched was from Meets the Wolfman, and that's where we get it from.
And that's why, and all the cartoons, yeah.
Every time you see someone imitating the Wolfman that way, or imitating, the Frankenstein monster that way, it's from the one Wolfman movie.
Huh.
However, they didn't really show any of that, didn't have him say any of that, despite the fact that Igor is able to still speak while having his brain in Frankenstein's body. The audience is tested very negatively to Boris Karloff speaking as, Frankenstein, Igor, or a combination.
Okay.
And so that all got cut out, so basically any mention of Igor's brain in there was excised, and so were all the speaking lines. So we have this continuity gap in the previous movie. It's supposed to be the Igor-Frankenstein combination. No one cares about that anymore. Apparently that wasn't good enough to keep, so they just kind of ignored that part of the continuity, and it's like, okay, now it's just Frankenstein stumbling about. Why are his arms out there? There was something they also mentioned about his power level going down. He was, his battery was running low, so to speak. And so I suppose he wasn't walking as good as he could, so he's kind of stumbling, keep his hands out sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That was kind of left up to the viewer to come to a conclusion. If they hadn't seen The Ghost of Frankenstein, which I did not see the first time, I would not have been assumed of that. I would not have known.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this is the second in the werewolf movies, the Wolfman series, with Lon Chaney Jr. And this throws, watching again, it throws my whole, thing about the werewolf, because I mentioned this in previous podcasts. It's all supposed to be in his head, right? He's got a mental condition that is making him, he believes it so badly he's a werewolf, he's actually forcing a physiological transformation.
Right.
No, turns out that's not right, because at the start of this movie, he's been dead for 4 years. Some grave robbers break into the place to steal any valuables, any money he might have had in his wallet, because apparently he got buried with your wallet back then. So that was the claim. Any valuables he might have had, rings or jewelry, they were going to steal it off his corpse. Mm-hmm. And they're talking, it's what do you expect to find in there? And it's, just a lot of bones and, empty bones and a full wallet. Is I think the line that which is a pretty nice line, especially if you're a grave robber. This is a nice turn of phrase for you. But they open up, and there he is, still, in repose, like he had just stepped in there. The light of the full moon hits him, and he turns into a werewolf and comes back.
Oh, awesome!
So he's been dead 4 years, and that's actual plot point.
Okay.
When they bring him in, it's his head needs some bandaging and all that. Who are you? I'm Lawrence Talbot. Lawrence Talbot died 4 years ago. And it's like, whoa, you can't be him. And he's like, I am him. It's like, you can't be. He's been dead 4 years. Well, then check the coffin. And they eventually do. And like, no, it's empty now. So, as much as I am a believer in the power of a strong mind, I don't believe it should circumvent death. So, all the future movies for the werewolves thing I've been watching, where it's all in his mind, that's either completely false, and every hope he had after this movie is completely unfounded, or they decided to simply ignore that part of it, being like, oh, he comes back from the dead, to just being, and he's still finding a way to cure himself of lycanthropy. He's working with vampires, he's working with mad scientists. Nothing is helping him out, and all these scientists are saying, it's all in your brain. I've got something that liquefies or it softens the muscle tissue, and what we'll do is we'll give you a brain bump here and it'll allow your blood flow to be a little bit better in this part of the brain, and that will cure your condition. We can solve this through simple, bone manipulation. No, that was completely unfounded, apparently.
Yeah, okay, big surprise.
Which is just absolutely oh my gosh, that's so horrific. Although I gotta admit that muscle or bone manipulating doctor did have some very good things going on with him, because he was going to cure a hunchback woman of her hunch by correcting the abnormal bones. So he did have some very nice altruistic desires.
I wouldn't even know if that's possible.
Well, anybody with bone deformalities would have been able to be cured by simply applying the proper gas combination on the area and then molding the bone while it was still in a putty-like state.
Okay, so it's weird science.
Weird science, but very, very altruistic. If this was anywhere near true, it would have been heralded as a miracle cure for so many malady-ridden people.
Well, I'm glad they thought of that.
So somebody's thought the idea. It's just, no, the body doesn't work that way. Welcome to the rest of the world, 1940s movies.
Yeah,
so he was a good scientist in that one, but apparently his concept that there can't be supernatural because I'm a scientist and a man of logic either completely fell through, or the other movies decided to disregard the canon continuity of he's been dead for 4 years and his brain brought him back. His brain kept him from rotting because he believed himself to be a werewolf and thus immune to death by anything other than, the right time or, very far-flung, methodologies.
Okay. Now, so do you think they're breaking continuity? Is that what
my point is, nobody cared which one it was.
Okay.
In this day and age with the comic books, where, it's like, how can Superman be here? In this comic, he's doing this sort of thing here. Which order does this take place at? Which adventure goes in which order? Dude, back in the 40s, nobody cared. If they didn't like it, they'd ignore it. What happens here? They had this is the order that the movies go in for an appearance, but by and large, if they, is it a curse, a mythological thing? Is it simply a brain disorder? You know what? They don't care. They're watching a good movie about a person who's trying to commit suicide, which is actually a very strange point in that one. Lawrence Talbot and meets the Wolfman one. He's not trying to cure himself of his lycanthropy. He is so guilt-ridden over the deaths he's caused as the Wolfman. All he wants is to die. That is his punishment. Even though he has no apparently willful, ability to enforce his morality on the Wolfman aspect of him, he's so guilt-ridden over these deaths. He just wants it to end by his own demise.
Okay, yeah. So
it's a man trying to seek out what is effectively euthanasia.
And he can't just jump off a bridge or something?
No. His father shot him to death in the first movie, and that didn't take.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's this, he goes to the thing, it turns out, Frankenstein knew all sorts of things about living in dead tissue. How do you get rid of the Frankenstein monster? You have to wear him down. You have to, use, opposite charging to effectively drain his power out. We should be able to do this for any kind of thing. We can kill even the werewolf this way. It'll kill you as well, but at least you can die a proper death and stay dead. And so, it's like, okay, I suppose that's a good enough reason to get the two of them together. I'll buy the logic, whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's doing this, and he's trying other ways to die, but he just can't. And so I suppose, in this day and age, you could probably see it as a parable of, the right to die issue, but that's maybe a topic for another day. like symbolism that suddenly becomes very relevant multiple decades after the thing's being produced. We'll put a note in that. Come back to that some other time.
Okay.
But in this case, it's the fact that nobody really gave a damn about all the little nitpicky bits of continuity. So was that just because they had no area to properly voice their concerns? Did people care, but they went, whatever. I paid a decent amount for it. I got to see the actors and actresses I wanted. Good enough. Or was it just back then, it's like, dude, it's just a movie. They had more of a different sense of importance.
I don't know. I think there's always, even today, people say it's just a movie. If you bring up like plot holes and
Mystery Science Theater 3000 was like part of their introduction and theme song. If you ever get too wound up about this, just take a deep breath and say to yourself, it's only a show. But it seems like there's a lot more people that are really concerned about the continuity, and even some of the reviewers will say they seem to have disregarded what they had established in previous iterations of the trilogy here.
Yeah. So is the question then is, how important is continuity to? Because I think, well, the answer is to answer my own question. I think it is in some cases. You should care about continuity, and in some cases you shouldn't. So the real question is, when does it become important? Like, when do you focus on getting things right, and when do you say, oh, that's okay?
I think, myself, from what I've been analyzing for this week, as I've been thinking about this, because this one really hit me, as I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. So I've been thinking about it. Maybe it depends on what your sense of scale and epicness is. Mm-hmm. In the cases of a monster movie, no one really gives a dang because, dude, it's a monster movie. I want to see monsters. I want to see people screaming. I want to see, like, carts upturned. I want to see people, having pathos and various emotions. I want them to be decent actors, too. Not just, pull off anybody in the street. I want some, like a Lon Chaney Jr. I want some good big-name actors to reprise their roles on this.
Well, the thing about when you mention pathos in the actors, one of the things that goes into a good acting performance is believability. So that's where that comes
But in the end, it's still a monster movie. No one ever said it was cinema. It was a movie. On the other hand, you look at J.R.R. Tolkien's work. And he spent decades properly revising this and subtly changing that and fixing it until he had what was a mythology that rivals any real-world, religion. It was very well detailed, very well described, and actually about the body of work rivals, any actual religious texts. This was something he spent a lot of time making sure it was fine-tuned for just a wonderful sense of style and design and continuity there.
Yeah, although in a lot of what he wrote, he would have contradictions. I mean, I guess
initially, and then in later printings, his stuff got fixed up and revised a little bit more. Yeah. So in the final stuff, by the time of his death, everything was just like you can call it like just a wonderfully tuned machine of storytelling here.
Yeah, and it's funny because little errors and inconsistencies will stand out in Tolkien, where they won't. You can ignore a lot more in something like a monster movie. So
it might just be like the sense of class. Monster movies are low class. Continuity, whatever. I mean, and let's work with that today. How many times has Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger been killed? Forever. For the last time. They keep coming back. Did anyone ever say, Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was pretty good, but they really said they killed him for the final time in the third one. What's up with that? No. It's a monster movie. They just need him back for whatever reason. Killing doesn't take. Good enough.
That's almost its own issue because it's breaking continuity specifically because you want to bring back a cool character. Like, you have a very specific reason for doing what you do, for breaking some rule. Whereas sometimes it's just like, whatever, he can punch through glass or he throws somebody farther than a human should be able to throw somebody and nobody cares. And yet...
To be fair, he does have that zombie strength for Jason Voorhees. I assume if you've got enough power to, like crack somebody's noggin open and eat brains, like it was, you're opening a box of, Christmas cookies, for a nice, time of year phrase, then you should be pretty dang strong. You should be able to toss a person, through a window, and they should be able to hit their car across the parking lot there. You got to be tough to have that sort of strength.
Yeah, I guess, and some of that is just Hollywood. Hollywood, like what they do. Like,
yeah. If it's Hollywood and you're doing
Hollywood
something big
physics.
budget and it's not bigger than life, it better be a documentary, buddy.
Yeah.
And even some of their documentaries are bigger than life too. But so yeah, maybe it's just like our perception of class, importance, level. Monster movies are low level. Tolkien's is high level. In this case,
yeah, I mean, well, Tolkien is an interesting case because it is pop art. It's not, it's not like high art for high class people. It's pop art. It just happens to be very detailed and very.
Well, I think maybe the added level of detail is what has increased it in stature. Like you could have made trilogies about all sorts of movies, all sorts of fantasy stuff. I mean, there's 14 books for the Wheel of Time series. There's the Shannara series, which has got, I think, 20 books. All sorts of people. Who did they really make sure that they got, to do a proper trilogy of? Tolkien. Why? He took the extra time to care. He took the extra time to fashion this thing that was so great, so big, so much more than anything anybody else would rationally try.
Yeah, well, Tolkien's been tried. Animated, remember they did an animated.
Oh, yeah, the Bakshi stuff.
Yeah. So, and my thought on Tolkien has always been that because when I first read it for myself, I dreamed of it felt cinematic reading it. It felt like this should be a movie. There were certain scenes in it that I was like, I could so picture this being an awesome movie scene.
So if they were to have written a book about Larry Talbot as the werewolf, and they had made it just great, wonderfully written, and it's like, oh, I wish I could have seen this in a movie, and then they had done, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and you're like, that was so low quality than I expected. They would have just ripped it apart then?
Possibly.
So once you hit that high standard, you got to keep that watermark going on. Otherwise, it looks bad, even though it's not. Well, a lot of people say the third in the Nolan Batman series wasn't as good as the other ones. It's still a better movie than a lot of movies, but compared to the other two, especially that second one, that was just amazing. Like that third one just didn't seem good. So maybe it's all about watermarks then. No one has ever done like the high watermark in the 1930s, 40s for Frankenstein or the Wolfman. Good movies. I loved them myself. Yeah. But I wouldn't say they set a high watermark, and so you just don't care. It's like, well, it's just not that high up there. It's not. They haven't established anything truly great and epic. Just something that can stand the test of time.
Well, I don't know. It is interesting to think that a movie being well done will inspire people to care about it and therefore care about continuity. Because I'm not sure if that necessarily follows. I think it might be that people love a movie or a work of art or fiction or whatever and still don't really mind if rules are broken. I guess it's more the case with things like cartoons and stuff. They're like, oh, I'll break the rules because it's a cartoon. That's fine, but we still love it.
Okay, now how about this? Because the monster movies are kind of made up, not as seen as like an overarching all at once. Like, okay, I'm thinking about like the plot for the next 5 movies on this thing. This Wolfman's going to be big. We're going to want him for multiple movie deals. So let's come up with an arcing plot of things here. No, they weren't doing that. The reason Frankenstein meets the Wolfman even started was there was a writer. He was pitching an idea to one of the movie producers because he needed a down payment for a new car. Mm-hmm. And so he jokingly suggests the title, Frankenstein Wolf's the Meat Man. And then the guy sends back like a message later on, change the name to Meets the Wolf Man and put the down payment for the car and basically pay for it. You start writing that script, buddy, and you've got it. And so because it's designed more piecemeal, it has more allowances. The people watching it automatically know this sort of thing, at least on a subconscious level, so they don't attach it as a great importance. It's like, oh, he built a 3-movie epic, so it better hold good continuity between all 3, because that's how it was designed. It's like a 1 movie in 3 parts. Yeah. So that way, if the Lord of the Rings movies had been done, pieces are like, whoa, that Fellowship of the Ring was awesome, man, just amazing. You got to do another one. And it's like, okay, we got to start writing a script. And then like, oh, Gandalf comes back as Gandalf the White, and people would have gone, that was really kind of hackneyed. They just wanted to bring the character back in, but he died in the previous one, so they had to come up with a reason for that, and so that's how they keep bringing him back. Was he going to die at the end of this one? Going to come back as like Gandalf the Plaid? No. Because it was seen as much more overarching as one story told in 3 parts.
Yeah.
That it's like, how did he come back? And it had to make sense within. It had to have that greater level of internal reality. Could that be an off factor as well then?
Well, I don't know, because as far as Tolkien was concerned in writing it, it took him a long time, so for him it would have been like, oh, okay, I'll go back and I'll revise, and should I bring Gandalf back, and do I really want it to be that way? So he would have to he would write it one way and then think about it, and do I want to keep it? I don't know I don't know exactly
how layered the final product is.
But yeah, I think at least for him, it's that the experience is building on previous work, for at least in his own mind. The difference with the films being that the public has a chance to see the first story before the artist goes back and works on the next movie.
So in that case, because the audience acknowledges that these sorts of monster movies are not made as like the grand epic, like, I gotta go back and forth and make it before I even produce the first product, they're more willing to grant leeway.
Well, when you speak of the audience, too, audiences generally are forgiving as far as, like...
Provided the popcorn's cheap, salty, and just loaded with that fake butter, they'll forgive.
Well, and also about what they say about the movie. Like, I loved it. I love that there was an action and the 2 monsters fought each other, and there was that awesome moment when the one get thrown.
I've done that. I discussed the fight between the Wolfman and Dracula as being an epic battle that raged throughout an entire castle. Yeah. And that was an Abbott and Costello movie.
Yeah, exactly. But I think also the audience has a subconscious, streak in them where if the stories aren't compelling, they won't even think that it's because of the story. But if the story doesn't follow and doesn't make sense to them, they kind of lose that, and they might lose interest in the franchise as a whole, and they might not go back to the next one. And
on the other hand, this was an era where media was in much more scarcity than it is now. Like, you want to watch a movie on werewolves, buddy, you got a decent selection. You want to watch on vampires or zombies, you're going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So maybe back then it was like, there's only so many movies coming out. If you don't see this in the theater, you're not going to get a chance to see it any other time. So if you want to maintain a part of current pop culture, you're going to have to keep watching these movies.
True. So it's not as important to keep them hooked
as it is just to say, listen, we're putting this out, and if you want to make sure you get the references, you don't want to get left in the dust like some sort of fogey, a hermit that doesn't watch anything. You got to keep watching all our movies. We're putting out almost like a half dozen a year now.
And it might be that sort of like the serial production can't be done in movies. Well, I suppose it is obviously in some cases, but we see it more on TV now. We see it because how many vampires? There's Supernatural. There's Once Upon a Time. There's
Vampire Diaries.
I mean, Buffy's not on anymore, but
we'll put that in. I suppose you go with some of those other weird ones. There's I remember seeing one. Seeing the title for one, My Babysitter's a Vampire.
My Babysitter's a Vampire.
I don't know what was going on. It was just like, wow. Well, the very premise was so bad, I'm not even going to try it and give that a watch. It's just, I'm going to laugh at it. What a funny name. I'm sure it's goofy. Maybe it was great. I don't know. It's like
never watched it.
It was just such like, wow, that's so wow. I'm not going to try watching that one. At least not yet. I'll wait till the reviews come out, and if it's good enough, they'll put it on again later.
So I don't know if it's enough for all of these little TV shows to have, awesome fight scenes or whatever.
Oh, and Forever Night, because no one's Canadian. I want to make a reference on that for vampire stuff.
Okay. So of a lot of them, what they essentially are is they're just soap operas. They're the modern version of
soap operas with a new form of like a reason to be sad. Oh, he drinks too much. Well, it's General Hospital. Oh, he drinks too much blood, and it's from people he cares about. Well, there we go. That's a new way of doing it. Maybe it's just to get a variant on a crowd. I would not watch many soap operas, but I do recall one that involved the supernatural. There's one about a They had to bring in a priest to decurse an unholy underside of the bed. Because, yeah, there actually was monsters underneath the girl's bed, apparently.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I was like, well, you know what, this is just kind of goofy enough to watch. This is like a soap opera / comedy, but they're playing it straight. And so I watched a few episodes. It was basically a soap opera, but they got me to watch a few episodes of a soap opera. So
yeah,
maybe it's just, doing a variation on a theme to get a new sort of niche audience.
Probably. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, once you start watching, it's like your human instinct kicks in. You're like, now I suddenly care about those people on the screen who I didn't care about at all before.
Well, sometimes it's kind of fun not to care about the people throughout the entire time and just have your own personal betting pool as to who goes first. Mm. I'm betting Lost Limb on Charlie. It's going to happen within the rest of the end of the season here. Yeah! So, maybe. Yeah, it's always fun. But by and large, the more you watch, the more you care, the more you're in, the more you want to keep watching.
I think so. And, well, sometimes what shows will do is they'll kill off a beloved character, or they'll change something.
Like Family Guy did recently.
I wonder, though, if they're not losing viewers just because the viewers might get bored or whatever with the same...
There's the line of contention like, oh no, they killed Brian. Wait, when was the last time you actually watched and cared about that character? And they're like, well, I stopped watching it last season, but So, they're doing it just to get publicity. But any topic's a good topic for us. We'll talk about that.
Alright. Well, letting you know, we're a bit over time, but I suppose we should wrap things up.
So I think we came up with a lot of good reasons why continuity just was not considered a big thing, and why maybe sometimes people who say, I hated what they did with the continuity, maybe you should just give it a rest. It's just a comic book. It's just a movie. It's just whatever. Just relax, man. Sometimes it's not planned in advance, and that's why. It's just a webcomic. So,
well, relax, but it is fun.
It is nice when it happens. Appreciate it when it happens, but don't put it down if not everybody can do it all the time. Not everybody has the time to back plan like 10 years worth of strips or comics or whatever in advance, so that way it's like, oh, I really don't like what they did with Wonder Woman the last year. It's like, well, that's because they didn't know what they were doing with her last year coming up for this one.
Oh, and the other piece I would advise anyone to do, any viewer, or this is sort of what I try to do, is do a little bit of what Token did and think of explanations for why. Think of in-world. It can be a little...
The more you do that, of course, the more hokey it gets. Like, how did the Joker escape death this time? How did he get out of Arkham? And eventually you get the whole thing like Arkham Asylum is made out of cardboard.
Yeah, or he owns it or something. Like, he's got some sort of...
Well, that's the thing. That's the reason why I like Lex Luthor. When he gets imprisoned in jail, how does he get out? He basically bribes the guards because he's freaking rich. So, he's walking to his cell and he says, it's like, how are the kids there? And, the guard says they're loving their new, big screen TV. And Lex Luthor goes, they're equally going to love their new van. And so, he basically is bribing the guards to look the other way to make his escape. And that, I think, is a brilliant way for him to keep escaping. How does he explain it? Well, dude, he's rich. He's rich enough to bribe himself out of, legal repercussions. The affluenza, as some people are calling it.
I've seen, mention of that also.
Which is a bad name, but whatever. It's here. It's already.
But if the viewer is smart enough to be able to pick out inconsistencies, then you should also be smart enough to think of, tell your own little story to yourself about why it might be inconsistent.
Maybe that's why I like some of the bad stuff that everyone says is horrible, because in my brain I've come up with an explanation for why it's that way, and people go, oh, it was so badly written. I'm like, you just didn't see the hidden layers underneath.
That's right. The
explanation basically explains itself away, and that's why I love Prometheus.
Yeah. And of course, another trick I have up my sleeve is it was all a dream, or it was just a story that someone else, one of the characters was telling another story.
Well, ultimately, every movie
memory.
You watch is just a dream. It's the dream work of somebody or some group.
Dream. So. But I try and think of it in an in-universe way, as in, like, this character didn't really do that. That was just what they thought they were doing. Or something.
It's good, especially when you have something that's being portrayed in a bunch of different ways. If you get a chance to watch the Eon Flux cartoon series, It's a Dream or It's a Parallel Reality really does help explain a lot of craziness away. Otherwise, it's just like, I remember watching it, and they were trying to play that on at midnight, and I guess it's kind of adult, so it makes sense. You don't put it on prime time. Mm-hmm. But midnight is just way too late. Your brain just starts cracking and watching. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What? And you just can't process it sometimes. So, yeah, each episode is a parallel reality or like a different night's dream for the real Eon Flux. Whatever.
Yeah.
Explain some way, but yes.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of us to tell us their explanations, Josh?
Send us email. thesimulationist@gmail.com is our email address. The Simulationist.
That's all one word.
All one word. We're at facebook.com/thesimulationist. We're on youtube.com/thesimulationist, and a couple of other places which I'm forgetting. I made a subreddit for us, but I haven't actually. There's nothing there. So, but you can.
Yet.
Maybe you could be the first person to post on the subreddit.
That said, as for this week, I do believe the Facebook is the way to go because we will have that random fish generator.
Oh yeah, and you can play with that and have lots of fun.
Any chance to roll more dice for any reason.
Absolutely.
So, there you go. Now, take care out there, and just remember, calm down. It's just a movie. But not for the Chinese. They actually did land on the moon. They didn't fake that. That's not fiction. That's actual reality. To the best we've been able to determine.
Cool. Well, I've been Josh Levin.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Send us money.